And welcome to a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForest. Hoping you guys had a lot of success over the weekend. And this is a glorious time now because there have been many allusions, Mike Jones, to the fact, and we're joined here as always on these Mondays and Thursdays by the inimitable Mike Jones, who had given up on baseball, but then probably made a couple of hits and it rejuvenated and refueled his love and admiration for making bets on the game.
Mhm.
And this is now Thursday night coming up, the Hall of Fame game, which for degenerates, I would normally recommend just staying the fuck away from it.
Yeah.
But we were criticized widely last year when I asserted that if you were betting preseason football, you really need a jacket that ties in the back so that you can't reach for your wallet anymore or your phone or your app. And I was crucified for that by the people that follow the program, saying that, oh, well, the unders are coming in overwhelming margin. And I think it was some ridiculously overwhelming margin, like plus
Mhm.
70%, in an advance of 70% last year that these unders were hitting. And guys were claiming they were cleaning up. Now we know bookies make adjustments to these sort of trends. I'm not sure how they're going to play out this year, but I am looking at an over-under number of 32 and a hook, which we'll get into. But the main thing is the stipulation, Mike Jones, is that this coming Thursday is the first, and there won't be another Thursday without football into almost perpetuity.
Yeah.
Talking about into next year. So, I mean, how you feeling about it? Are you ready to go? And are you inclined to wager on preseason football, my friend?
Yeah. I mean, I got some guys, the guys who know what's going on before tomorrow's newspaper guys that say that they like preseason football and they find an advantage. So I think what you want to do, and this is something I studied last year, is watch the initial line move because it's created by a group of guys that I know that are pretty good, hitting in upwards of close to 70% in preseason. Remarkably, they were fantastic last year, betting totals, betting sides. So you'll see the lines move. And basically, what this is in the research is basically listening to press conferences of coaches that will explain more of what they're going to do prior to the game than they would in a regular season game. These games don't mean much. It's really to get a look at players. What we're hearing now more is that the inter-squad practices are where the first team gets heavy contact reps, and the really good players will not play in the preseason due to risk of injury risk. So these are the things when you get into handicapping, you want to watch out. Who's going to play what? How's going to do? For instance, how much is Russell Wilson going to play for the Giants? Probably not much. He's looking very sharp in the preseason. Clearly, the media is saying he's a clear-cut starter. So you're going to get a lot of Jackson Dart, which could mean a rookie trying to figure out things, might throw a pick six, could lead to more overs and things like that. So you just got to kind of look and see what you want to find in these games and find teams that are taking a more emphasis of winning, playing the right players. The Tennessee Titans might be kind of an advantage. You might see a little bit more of Cam Ward just to get him used to the NFL feel. The Colts are an interesting team because you got Richardson and Jones battling for a job, so they might get more play than normal because they're trying to find which one they're going to try to start. So hunt around, look at right, and see what happens. Now, for me, I'm going to say the Chargers, who are probably more of a defense-oriented team, running-oriented team, are going to try to play, and the Lions, who have a prolific offense of strategy, I might look at over 32 and a half and say 2017 game. Why not? And just because you said all the bevy of unders last year, maybe this is shaded, should be 34 and a half, and maybe we're getting a price at 32 and a half. There's no snow on the field. When you see 32, there's usually snow somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't see any of that. So, it's just basically who's going to play. 90 guys on the roster. They're probably not going to. I got 4 preseason games, so you're probably not going to see many of the starters. But you never know what could happen. So that
Well,
would be kind of my initial philosophy of it.
yeah, Detroit's injuries on defense, you can't imagine that they're even playing a lot of their backups because
Right.
they're going to need those guys to be starters at
Mm-hmm.
several key positions where we saw how decimated their defense was at the end of last year and even throughout the year. It was remarkable they went as far as they did with all of the significant losses they had on the defensive side of the ball. Approach, I guess you can also research coach's approach. Marv Levy was famous for not wanting to win a single game in the preseason. I don't know that I buy the press conference talk so much because coaches will always insist, well, part of what we're trying to do here is establish a winning
Yeah.
attitude. And you're thinking, that's total bullshit. I don't know. I mean, are you really trying to
Well,
establish a winning attitude with guys that are going to be, as the joke goes, Not meaning to be facetious about guys that are trying hard to accomplish a job in the NFL, but they're going to be Amazon Prime drivers
Yeah.
in a very near future, or maybe playing at some minor league level or semi-pro level, or playing in Canada. Yeah, I mean, can you count on that? I mean, is it important that those guys clearly they would be trying, but do they have the ability? And I guess you also have to look at what teams have decent backup quarterbacking
Let,
situations.
let me just say this about the preseason and the results. You don't go on the field when you have 45 guys that aren't going to be on the roster basically at the
Yeah.
end of this whole thing. They want to go out with pride, and there's a delay in your life on the line that you want to win a football game. You're not going out there to lose. When the Giants were 3-12-1 in 1983, we went into the game feeling that we were going to play hard in preseason and try to win these games. And it meant something to the team to go 4-0, and it catapulted us to a playoff season. I'm not saying that it was the reason, but I'm saying that as you go into these games, I think when you're trying to develop an idea of what it feels like to win, you want to do that. So I would say the teams that struggle the most, probably these games might mean a little bit more to the coaching staff just to get the vibe up. And now, with guys like us talking about it, there's so many of us, hundreds of thousands of podcasters that are talking about their team and what to do and what's going on, that any win is a win. And I'm sure that the Giant fan base is going to look at their preseason and say, if we go 0-4, uh-oh. Where if we go 4-0, it's a lift. And I think these are the things that kind of make your front office and stuff like that kind of go, because the social media becomes a burden. If you're getting ripped every single day, your life in front office or a coaching staff, it's hard to get up in front of the camera. So I think anything helps win. I think the teams that struggle are coming off teams that are trying to develop a winning attitude. These games might mean slightly more too, and you can look at that when you're handicapping.
Reduced now to 3 games in the preseason, and there used to be the narrative was, well, that third game is when we go through the dress rehearsal and
Mm-hmm.
second half or midway through the third quarter, and it was more of a meaningful test of an indication of how the team was going to play during the regular season. And then the fourth game, everybody rested, and you were just hoping to survive and maybe take a look at a couple of guys that were borderline, and it might have been a determination about whether or not they made the team. Now you don't have that formula anymore, so I think that's thrown a lot of guys out of whack. But the under players were doing a Kazatsky all last preseason and literally made me look like a fool on social media.
Yeah.
My assertion that you were, to use Jewish slang, Mishugana, if you were betting preseason football. But I love the fact that you're into it. This is why we love having.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be into it for my team and for my podcast, talking about the Giants, just because we have to do something to change the aura around this franchise right now. It's been a rough one playoff season in 10 years, basically, or 12 years, and it's just, you just need to get a lift. So I'm going to look at these games and look at players, look at depth. That's what you need to do, and that's kind of how it is. But if you're gambling, the lines are going to be tight. These are going to be 2.5. I can bet you an average of 2.5, 36 is what you're going to see. All this. The 3 is gone because they're going to go for 2 at the end of a game. So the 1.5s become more prominent when you're betting because there's not going to be tied. No one wants to play overtime and play more plays at this point. They want to move on to the next week. And the second game becomes a bigger game now than the third game because you do that. But you do get an extra week off to rest and prepare after the third game. So teams could take it either way. And I think these are the things when you're looking around and hunting for an advantage, when you see a significant line move happen, something's going on where, hey, we're going to start Aaron Rodgers for a half in game 4 or 3, and that's what the game they come out. So you might see the Steelers get a first half bet where the total might be 21 and the second half total might be 14 kind of thing. That's kind of what you're looking at.
I don't know how you feel about this. I had a couple of situations over the weekend where I did something that I normally would not recommend to anybody, and that is betting into a losing proposition. Where I knew that the likelihood of me connecting on this, it's kind of like betting a long shot at the track. You got a horse that's 50-1. People are, overlooking this particular animal and thinking that you're nuts if you went ahead and embraced it. And every now and then, somebody, a good handicapper, finds these horses and bets them with confidence. But I've had great success in my lifetime betting boxing, with the rare occasion where you got screwed by the pencil and some absurd scoring where it was put in play by like Adelaide Bird or Malvina Lathan or some of the blind boxing judges in Las Vegas or any boxing judges for that matter that have demonstrated immense amounts of incompetence. So I had a friend, a kid from Sunrise, Florida, who is originally from Puerto Rico. He's been boxing since he was 11 here locally and signed with Top Rank at 16, a guy named Xander Zayas. And he's fighting for the WBO Junior Middleweight Championship, 154 pounds. And he's fighting a guy from Mexico that what was of little distinction, although he had scored an upset to move himself somehow miraculously up the rankings to be the number 2 contender for this vacant crown. Xander's number 1. Zayas is a 4-1 favorite in the fight, and there's little doubt in my estimation that he's going to win. But the knock on him is he's not a big knockout guy. So, and his record reflects that. He's got 13 knockouts now from 22 bouts, including the one where I bet him to score a knockout on Saturday night on ESPN. And my thinking was he's so much better than this other guy that while he might not knock him out with a conventional shot to the chin and then follow up, or even a body shot for that matter, that across 10 rounds, he was going to wear this guy out enough that maybe they throw in the towel, maybe he gets stopped on cuts, something along those lines. It may not be a knockout in a pure sense, but that he was going to wear this guy out. And sure enough, it starts out that way, like you had a shot. Because I parlayed the knockout, which was like plus 260, thinking that the scenario totally dictates that he's going to win this by a lopsided decision. And then I figured if he's going to knock him out, the over-under was 10.5 rounds. So I parlay that, and I'm betting nothing, like $20 on this, but to win 220. Right. So I thought it was worth a shot to throw this $20 away and have some reason to enjoy the fight. I don't know. Would you ever make a bet like that? Because it was in total defiance to all logic in terms of what we would normally see from Zayas. But I thought that in front of the crowd there, big Puerto Rican fan base he has at Madison Square Garden, elevation to his first world championship. He's been hunting this for 6 years as a pro since he was 16. Nice setup by Top Rank to put him in against an opponent, whether it was the WBO or Top Rank that arranged this thing. I guess they were in conjunction on this. And, he had a guy that he should be able to stop, but he didn't press for the knockout, and I ended up losing the bet. Now, would you feel good about that you went ahead, knowing full well, and I told my friend who I made the bet through, I said, look, in all likelihood, he wins. He was the 4-1 favorite. It didn't interest me to put 100 down to win 25. I'm not going to bet like 1,000 to win 250. Because anything can happen, as Emmanuel Stewart said in boxing. He gets headbutted. Maybe they stop the fight later on. Yeah, I mean, do you ever just take a flyer on something?
Yeah, sure. You take all the time. I mean, probably, I would say, yeah. I'm trying to go back to when I was in Vegas. I took a huge flyer one time in a bet with the bowl games where I just took UCF to beat Baylor, and when Blake Bortles was there, and I got they went up their 17-point dog, and I didn't take the 17. I said, well, I'm just going to take the plus 900, plus 1,000 on the money line. And I put it in a parlay that basically the MGM wouldn't even accept, because 100 would have paid me 60,000 because I put it with 4 underdogs, and they said we can't take that bet. And I ended up flipping a bet out of it, and I went from a plus 500 with Oklahoma to a minus 700 Alabama to get it under the 300 to 1 ratio. And it turns out Alabama gets beat in the game as a 14-point favorite to Oklahoma. So, yeah, so you see those flyer bets. I think those are the interesting bets, the lotto style. It's kind of what I'm working on, trying to find a little bit of field to put a parlay together to get a 10-team parlay in an area where people are coordinated. Yeah, I think that's what people want, that lottery style bet, and where you're trying to take a flyer on something that you think shouldn't happen, but you're putting $20 away and saying, okay, look, the risk reward is worth it.
At 10 to 1, it seemed like it was worth it. I mean, only a couple of things could happen. He was either going to win by decision or possibly knock this guy out. And even though that seemed like it was far more remote, I just thought he would eventually wear this guy down by outclassing him, and there was a chance to get a stoppage inside of 10.5 rounds. So I took a shot with that. And then at the racetrack, there was a 4-horse field yesterday at Saratoga.
Wow.
Races, they had rainy conditions, so the race obviously was taken off the turf. Ton of scratches in the race. And you had a horse that demonstrated durability as opposed to the other 3 that were left in the field. And that horse goes off at 2 to 5. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, the only way to really make money in this race is to box the second and third choice in exactas and hope that this favorite doesn't take to the mud and runs a poor race and ends up third or finishing last. And sure enough, it happened. It was the old Jim Lampley thing. It happened. It happened. Talking about the Laura fight. And so in a 4-horse field with a 5-2 shot winning the race, I ended up copping a $38 exacta, which I had many times. And yeah, I mean, it was worth the flyer there. I thought, even though you're playing into something where, in all likelihood, that 2-5 shot, if it doesn't win the race, certainly runs second against the other three. And yet, I mean, it was by a wide margin. I win this thing, and so that made up for the 20 I lost on Xander Zayas,
Yeah.
who I'm rooting
Let
for.
me throw another 20 out there that people play a lot. So you take $20 and you throw it. I'm going to say right now, looking at the NFL, that let's say take a flyer on, let's say Baltimore wins a Super Bowl, and then you come back and you say a flyer that the Knicks win the NBA championship, and a flyer that the Golden Knights win the hockey, and and go on and take those three, and we're going to go and take a run and say Clemson wins the national championship. Well, you see these tickets that are live, that $20 will pay you 200,000 because you're getting 30 or 20, 30 or 40 to 1 shot in. And I think those are the flyer bets that you see people posting online once they get 2 or 3 of them in. Like, hey, look at this bet. This looks like a great bet. And I know you had a friend,
too.
Yeah, I know you had a friend that had something similar like that. And, and it's like this is where those flyer bets of a $20 that you're going to throw out on a lottery ticket or throw out make it interesting. And I'm sure that the operators in this country are loving these bets, the style. I mean, I've talked to a bunch of guys about parlays being booked, and they'll book any parlay possible. And I know that's what these operators are looking for, is the parlay, the big type payout. And I think that's what drives the younger bettor of today. So I think, to your point, this is where it's kind of shading to, that people want to make it. And then they post that ticket online and they get millions of followers that are probably making money off that and starting a business. It's just like, I go back to, I knew a gentleman that won the Westgate Superbook contest.
Okay.
And he wasn't any kind of handicapper. He was a social worker out of Colorado, nice guy who just got lucky and hit it 71% and had the highest win percentage ever. What's the guy doing now? He's doing radio shows all over the country because he found a lot to do that. When they start these contests, he's brought in to talk about his handicap. And I asked him about his handicapping. And he said, I just look at injury reports. I make my picks on Tuesday. Then I see the injury reports. I see what's happening. And I post it by Friday. And it's like, and he had a great run. He had I think he said he had a 2 5-0s and 3 4-1s in a row to get him up into the lead.
Nice.
This is what it is. So there's different ways of doing things. So our old school way of maybe laying the 4-1, like I am very disenchanted with laying 2-1 in baseball now. Going through watching it, Colorado, the Baltimore plays the Rockies this week, loses 2 out of 3, and you don't make any money with Baltimore, right? Because you lost the bet, and you sit there and you go 667, which everything is good, but because you're laying such a big price, if the Rockies steal a game, you're better. You're almost better off.
Sure.
The White Sox did the same thing with the Cubs. They take a game, and then all of a sudden you're not making any money betting the Cubs because you're laying the big wood. So you kind of want to look. And today, in honor of my dog, I got 4 dogs for cash today. So I'm going to give you a look at this. I think this is amazing.
Nice.
Amazing slate today. You got 15
right into the picks.
Yeah, we got 15. We got 15 games today, a full slate of Major League Baseball, and some very interesting matchups. The Red Hot Marlins are 6-9 and playing mostly as an underdog. I don't think you've laid really any wood with them in the last 9 games, and now they're going out and the Marlins are playing the Cardinals today, who just traded a starting pitcher there that they had high hopes for that they got a couple years ago. Fetty got traded. I like the Marlins as a slight dog with Cabrera on the mound, who might be looking. The Marlins might be looking for a trade deal. He might be looking for a new contract, a new team. The Marlins are playing pretty good. Only 4 or 5 games out of the wild card. They're being talked about now. They're getting some timely hitting. They go up and take 2 out of 3 from Milwaukee. I'll take them as a short dog today with the better pitcher on the mound.
They've been strong on the road as well. Yep. And, remarkably, I mean, we cashed big on our inside information on our preseason pick last year.
Sure.
The Marlins were going to be horrible, and they were. Got out of the chute, and you had that bet one. It seemed like you could have cashed that ticket in April. Mm-hmm. But this year, at 4 games under 500, remarkable at this stage of the season. Cabrera seems to have a little more in terms of accomplishment this year than the Cardinals starting pitcher. I was looking at that too. So I think you're getting somewhere right around even money, though. If you
right now 106 plus.
Yeah. Okay. So that's your pick. The problem that you have with that pick, Mike, is and I've been getting my New York Post now, so I get all the pitching matchups and everything, and their opinion and the odds on the games first thing in the morning, and I don't have to go searching for them online. But the problem you have is that I also like the Marlins.
Oh, no, I'm going to say this is what we're here for.
I just threw away money on this.
BYB. We're going right at him this week. Let's go right, take them apart. So,
All right,
dogs cast continue. Why are the Mets the 7 in a row? Padres are a really good team, a perennial playoff team, and they've been up and down. Their bats are okay. They came back against a weak Cardinal team. I'm going to ride them again and say Padres after the long road trip coming back. Let's go and take the Mets getting 112 with Frankie Montez around the mound against Dylan Cease, who's been inconsistent. Cease, great stuff, great pitcher, big money guy out there in San Diego, but hasn't really pitched that well. So I'll take my chances and say the Red Hot Mets go down the road there, down the 5 freeway, and go down to San Diego and sit there and say, okay, we're going to take them plus 112 on the Mets.
Very nice, very nice. Mets on fire, like you said,
right?
And a big win last night. Although you had to have your heart in your throat as you watched.
Oh, crazy.
Edwin Diaz, we had a picture here with the Marlins many years ago. Antonio Alfonseca.
Exactly.
The only thing about him was he had 6 fingers, but
6 fingers, right?
Came in as a closer, and the Marlins would be nursing a 1-run lead going into the top of the 9th, and all they needed was Alfonseca to get 3 outs, and he actually had a pretty effective record, and his earned run average wasn't bad, but he would routinely load the bases with nobody out. He'd hit a guy, issue a walk, dribbler, and now you got bags juiced, 1-run lead, and then he'd somehow wriggle out of it. And Diaz, as great as he's been in terms of productivity and saves and earned run average and strikeouts, he seems to do this every time, right? I mean, he ends up the Giants. We're down 2, and he's got the bases loaded with 1 away, and then he comes back, gets a very favorable call on the first guy he struck out in that spot, and then strikes out the second guy with some wicked stuff. But yeah, I mean, you're getting a scare every time they're out there. But 7 in a row, and so you like them tonight over the Padres on the road to continue that streak.
Yep.
All right, what else are you looking at in your?
All right, so let's talk about the American League East real quick.
I love a 4-dog night, much better than a 3-dog.
Let's talk American League East. So everybody's Blue Jays this, you know, we're going to come in that my buddy's predicting they're going to go on a tailspin, and I saw it yesterday, and I kind of laughed with him. I said the Tigers put up 7 in the top bottom of the 8th. But today they go against the Orioles. Not much. Why are they only 125? I say shade the Orioles. We're going to take the Orioles to start the downward slide and tighten up that American League East. So we're going to take the Orioles plus. Now they're all minus 104 now. So they went from 125 already down to a pick 'em. So I guess some people think the same way. Bassett's been pretty good. Elfin going for the Orioles. So I don't know if that's a dog now. It's a dog in price, but not in payout. So it says minus 104 for the Orioles. So we're going to jump a little bit with the Orioles also.
All right. Well, we'll give you credit for making that part of the 4-dog night. All right. How are you completing this big parlay, Mike Jones?
All right. So we're going out west. Keller's been a tough luck pitcher.
You're not betting them individually. You're parlaying.
Yeah, we're going to parlay them and individual them and do whatever and just try to see what happens. So going out west, Giants struggle. We watched them last night playing that late game. You know, that's not that it's really late out there, but you know, we're going to see that they just seem like not hitting. 0 for 27, I think, in runners in scoring position against the Mets, some crazy number. And the Pirates coming off a good win yesterday and a good homestand are going out, getting 118. Keller against Wisenhunt. Not even sure who Wisenhunt is.
Yeah.
But Keller's been a tough luck pitcher and pitched very well for the Pirates. So we're getting 118 with a team coming off a win. I know they're traveling out west. They get on a plane with a little happiness. You know, long flight out there, but I think they'll be ready. And I'm going to take the Pirates at plus 118. So, and I think the shortness of these prices are leading me to believe that we're on to something. And I kind of like, you know, there's other games too that I'm looking at. This is a really interesting slate tonight. Pay attention to start off your week. But those are the 4 that I'm kind of keying in on. And then there's one total that I'm really interested in. Why is Boyd against Mizorowski? Now, I know both those teams hit, but they were down a total of 8. You would think that would be more of a 6.5, 7 total, the way those guys are throwing. So the total's a little high. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. Normally I would bet the under, but at 8, I think they're telling you something's up. But we're going to watch that game, but keep an eye on great pitching matchup. Brewers and Cubs tied for first in the National League Central. Boyd and Mizrachi, 2 could be aces going on the mound, and a total of 8, and basically a pick 'em game. So that should be a very interesting game to watch also tonight.
You're in trouble again. I kind of like the theory there. with Mizorowski after he got touched up last time out for a few runs. I
Mm-hmm.
like him bouncing back, and this guy's stuff is electrifying. I
Right.
mean, I remember seeing a young Nolan Ryan, but he was kind of like the wild thing. But yeah, he had no control when he was with the Mets, and then later on he kind of got a grip on stuff, even though he still walked his share of players, but or hitters. But I think the guy bounces back also. So the under looking very favorable in that game. All right, so you have to deal with a real dark cloud hovering over your wagers. I agree with
Yeah.
you on 2 of your 5 propositions here.
You know what? I'm going to say the dark cloud gets removed.
Yeah,
I think we're here to BYB, and I think here it is. We're going to bring your blues to bury your bookie. That's what we think. And I like that we agree on this stuff. I know normally that would be the thought process of 40 years each or more gambling.
yeah,
That, hey, when we like something, we might as well the other side's probably got a better chance to win. But I just see that these lines are tightening up now, and I think they're seeing what happens. And I just think there's a psychological edge to watching baseball today. I hate watching games. I saw something this weekend. I think we should make it alert. I saw more sacrifice bunts this weekend than I've seen all year. Teams are moving runners to third base, and you watch what happens, and sometimes they don't get them in. Basically, last night in the last game, you have a bases loaded with one out, and you can't get runners in with a productive out. And I see that teams aren't doing it. And then you see the Phillies yesterday lose 4-3, and all 3 runs were scored by solo home runs. So it's a different game today. And my buddies who really are coaches study it say that just everybody's trying at the long ball. There's not enough concentration moving runners. So I find it interesting that now we're seeing guys sacrifice. If you're hitting 220 and the guy's on second base with nobody out, you get him to third base with 1 out and try to get him in. I mean, you at least hit the ball to the right side and move him. These are the things that I think in baseball as a bettor that you just want to see that they're trying to produce for your bet when you need a run or two, and that's what we're seeing. So it's a different game today, and you just want to kind of watch it. But I was very interested to see that I saw at least 7 or 8 sacrifice bunts loom through that I didn't see earlier on in the year. So maybe these teams are starting to feel needing wins and playoff push and all that. Maybe they're trying to push these players and doing some different things baseball wise.
I'm glad you've exercised your demons from last week
Yeah.
and reignited your
Oh,
desire
the demons are so there.
and watch baseball. Yeah, no, that's great stuff. All right, Mike, always a pleasure, my man. People will catch you tomorrow. The Big Gunner podcast, a lot of giant information.
Yeah.
I'm getting it since I accomplished my mission of finally
Mm-hmm.
getting my New York Post delivered to my home here.
Mm-hmm.
I was very persistent in my relentless calls to the customer service department after reopening the subscription for the $10 for 10-week special. Couldn't resist that. I figured if I got 3 papers across 10 weeks, I got my money back. And a lot of giant input here. So I'll be able to go toe-to-toe with you.
Just basically the first week of camp was good. I think we've seen the electrifying of Abdul Carter. I think he's going to be a complete force. Watching him come off the front side of the quarterback, Jermaine Eleanor is not a bad tackle. Just is struggling every which way with every move he makes. You could see him off balance. Jackson Dart had a good practice after having a week practice. Russell looks sharp. Neighbor looks sharp. I mean, there's things that you're seeing, and I know you make a lot of these practices, and you hear these ESPN guys talk about, oh, this guy's this, and the reporter says this. This is what's watching. You get 3,000 people, these practices, all recording, sending these clips out to X. And I think we're seeing a little positive. So we lost a wide receiver in Bryce Ford Wheaton. Looked like he went down with a serious injury. Wandell Robinson's getting banged up, so we don't want to lose any players prior to all this. But so far, so good with what you're seeing, and a lot of positives out of Giant Camp. So we'll talk about it tomorrow.
All right. Very good, my friend. Thanks as always. I'll catch you tomorrow. Big Gunner podcast for everybody here. NoFilter.net. 10 o'clock is when it originally airs. And then, of course, it's up there, as they say, into perpetuity. And we'll have Mike again on the show. Good luck with all your plays. Joining us again on Thursday here on Bury Your Bookie. For Mike Jones, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll catch you tomorrow, the next edition of Bury Your Bookie.